As we had reported yesterday, the House got together and voted on a resolution to condemn Donald Trump's racist tweets. Now, Republicans lost because the House did vote overwhelmingly in favor of condemning Donald Trump's racism. However, there was this kerfuffle regarding Nancy Pelosi breaking an antiquated rule regarding insults toward the president, right? So according to House rules, you are not allowed to deem the president or the president's statements as racist. That is an actual rule in the House of Representatives. And so the racists within the House of Representatives got very upset at Pelosi when she said this.
These comments from the White House are disgraceful and disgusting, and the comments are racist. Every single member of this institution, Democratic and Republican, should join us in condemning the president's racist tweets.
I was just going to give the General Speaker of the House if she would like to rephrase that comment.
I have cleared my remarks as a parliamentarian before I read them.
And take it, and I ask the words be taken down.
Okay, can I just say that I love mic drops? And I don't know if she intended to do a mic drop there. And you know that we're pretty critical of Nancy Pelosi and her insane weakness when it comes to fighting back against Trump. However, I cleared this with the parliamentarian, drop the mic, walk away with your fuchsia pantsuit. Like, no, I love it. Like, I love that moment. And I just wish we would see more of that from Pelosi. Because what's gonna happen?
At the right time.
At the right time, exactly. Not in any instance, but in this instance, it made sense. I think it makes sense in a lot of other cases where she has unfortunately shown cowardice at the face of Trump and the GOP. But nonetheless, that was a good moment for Pelosi, and I'm glad that she didn't back down. Now, Doug Collins was the one who wanted to get Nancy Pelosi's statements stricken from the record. And he actually wanted a vote on that, to have Pelosi's statements toward Trump stricken from the record. Well, how did that turn out?
What purpose does the gentleman from Georgia rise?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion at the desk.
Clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Collins of Georgia moves that the words of the gentlewoman from California be stricken from the record.
The question is on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The nays have it.
Speaker, I request the yeas and nays.
On this vote, the ayes are 190, the noes are 232. The motion is not adopted.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna happen, right? So what would happen? I'm glad she stood her ground there, because what are they gonna do? Are they gonna handcuff her? Are they gonna lead her out of the House floor because she told the truth about Donald Trump and how his tweets and his statements toward freshman Democrats were racist? They were racist, period.
Yeah, I feel a little bit, like watching the entire thing develop over the past day, I've just felt a little bit crazy. Like, so he said those things, and so they're gonna censor him or whatever. Okay, that's fine. I think that's a fine thing to do. It just seems like for Nancy Pelosi to be like, you know what, I'm gonna be strong on this. Should he be taken out of office? Definitely not. Don't even talk about it, don't even think about it. But we can say that thing he said was bad, and we should leave him in a position where he can do and say things like that as long as he wants.
Yeah.
And then, like, so not only do we have that process, but inside of that process, we're reminded that you're not even allowed to say that a racist thing is racist. So if you have any hope that, like, if Donald Trump decides to put tanks in the streets, that they're gonna stop him, they can't even label what he's doing as a negative thing. And then we're worried about what's on the record and what's off the record. Like, does anybody in America outside of that building right then care? She said it, okay? She said it. It's out there. It's on the internet. Who cares if it's on the record?
No, you know,
the whole thing's like a circus.
I care, and history cares that it's on the record. You want to know why?
Okay, yeah.
Because this is unprecedented. First of all, the statement was accurate, but this is unprecedented. And to have this in an official record, right, where the House is voting to condemn the president's statements as racist. It's just important to have that in an official.
And I'm trying to do it.
Like, I had this, it wasn't really a debate, but I had this back and forth with Brooke on the show yesterday, because I understand the frustration, and I'm right there with you guys in that Pelosi has no problem showing strength in this case, but it needs to extend to actual actions that really matter, that would lead to true consequences for Donald Trump. Now, are these real consequences for Donald Trump? He's racist. The only thing it really does is it hurts his ego that it's now in the official record, right? But the fact of the matter is, I just think that to have the House of Representatives include this record that has this vote, that has these statements, clearly identifying Donald Trump's comments as racist, is important because you can look back at all of these Republican members of the House who voted against the resolution. Only 4 Republicans deemed Donald Trump's comments as racist. Only 4 of them voted in favor of condemning Donald Trump, okay? All of the other ones are now on the record saying, no, we don't find him racist, or we refuse to condemn his racism. So I just think it's important to have that on a record.
Yeah, I think it's silly that, I don't know, do you know the name of the individual who called the vote to strip it from the record? The guy that stood up? I don't remember his name.
Doug Collins?
Was it Doug Collins?
Yeah, Doug
okay,
Collins.
so whoever Doug Collins is, that the issue he has is with it being on the record. And by the way, that they even brought up that 1984 precedent for why you can't call something racist. Who remembered that? Somebody did research to try to find a way ahead of time to derail this thing. That's what they're spending their time on, is trying to find a way by going back to something that Gingrich started in 1984. It's all just ridiculous. There's real stuff going on, and we got 4 Republicans who acknowledge that it's racist. I mean, I would say probably none of those 4 would even go farther than that, but that's what we've got.
So let me give you the name of the 4 Republicans. You have Representative Susan Brooks from Indiana, Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, Will Hurd from Texas. And to give Will Hurd some credit, he's been vociferous in terms of criticizing Donald Trump and his immigration policy.
Okay, good.
And you also have Fred Upton in Michigan. Now Brooks, keep in mind, is slated to retire at the end of her term. And the other 3 are so-called moderates who are in swing districts. And that's relevant to bring up because if you're in a predominantly red district, right, and the voters are rabid Trump supporters, you're probably not gonna wanna do the right thing or be principled in your approach because you're more concerned about your political career than doing the right thing.
Yeah.
In this case, I mean, even with the Republicans who did do the right thing, it was a little easier for them to do so. And Donald Trump went after them already and was upset that there wasn't unity within the Republican Party. But one other thing I wanted to add was that when Doug Collins stood up and pretended like he was outraged at Pelosi calling Donald Trump a racist, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer should have had Nancy Pelosi's back, but instead he's like, I'm sorry, but we're not following the rules here. Let me give you the exact statement. Majority Leader Steny Hoyer announced the parliamentarian's decision against Pelosi, stating that by calling the remarks by Trump racist, she had violated the House's rules. Here's what he said: the chair is prepared to rule. The words of the gentlewoman from California contain an accusation of racist behavior on the part of the president, as memorialized in Chapter 29, Section 65.6, characterizing an action as racist is not in order. The chair relies on the precedent of May 15th, 1984, perfect year for this, and adds that the words should not be used in debate. Steny Hoyer, sit down, sit down. I mean, the weakness of Democrats is incredible to me. We are not following the rules. We need to lie to the American people and pretend as if Donald Trump's statements are not racist because of this ridiculous, antiquated rule from 1984. Sit down.
I disagree. I mean, obviously, I agree with the general point that they're being weak, but he's in charge of the rules. It's the rule. Change the rule. The rule's ridiculous. It should have never been established in the first place. But if it is the rule, he's just acknowledging it.
We have a Democratic Party that's trying to play by the rules when you have an administration who does not care about the rules, thinks they are above the law. Like, we're in a completely different era of politics.
Yeah, change the rule.
And okay, sure, change the rule. But in the meantime, don't follow the rule. Because you're essentially enforcing a rule that forces people, representatives of the American people, to lie about what's really going on. It's mandated deception.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That just to me is a very small part of how ridiculous and horrible this entire thing has been. to me, it's like, well, if we're gonna go to the circus and it's like someone's trying to cut the line to get popcorn and we stop them, I don't know, like that just to me seems like a pretty minor thing. I agree with the general point, and overall the issue is that, as we pointed out earlier, the fact that we can get Nancy Pelosi and a few others to be strong in this very limited case when it doesn't really cost them anything and there's no risk to it, but not on the larger point of whether Donald Trump should still be in a position to, be president.
Yeah. Look, I think for me, just final thing I want to say about this. I get what you're saying. This is just a minor thing. Why are you harping on it? It's because it's indicative of what's happening in government right now, right? Okay, and it's indicative of the weakness that's been so frustrating for Democratic voters. So it might seem like a small thing, but I think that this small thing represents a bigger problem. It's a symptom of a bigger problem within Congress and specifically the Democratic Party.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.